Hello, everybody. We are back again for another round of my Oscar nomination predictions for the month of September, where I will be doing my predictions in the big eight categories, from the screenplays to the acting categories to director, all the way up to Best Picture. A reverse order that a lot of people usually start up with picture, director, and then go down. I'm going backwards, going up. So to save the best category for last. Before we begin my predictions, we need to discuss any update glances since the last video that I have done for my predictions. As of this September 22nd recording, which is already now into the beginning of fall and the end of summer, the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA are still going on strike as of this recording. No deal has been made from the Alliance of Motion Pictures of Producers and Televisions, and big CEO and Hollywood executives of companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount, you name it. They're still saying no, and they really want to use artificial intelligence to really take over the industry, which is something that people do not want, as you might have seen in some movies. So that's basically it for that. It's still kind of struggling, as unfortunately some of the actors can't do opportunities like actually going to film festivals. And three big major film festivals had occurred, which are the 80th Venice Film Festival of course, in Venice, Italy, the 50th Telluride Film Festival in Colorado, and the 48th Toronto Film Festival in Canada. There have been a couple of notable films that have made their premieres. Some films that had already made their premieres at the Cannes Film Festival had showed up in some of these other festivals before their official theatrical runs throughout the remainder of the last 3 months of the year. Can't believe we're almost nearing the end of 2023. So some of the films have already shown up that made their premieres, like the Palme d'Or winner Anatomy of a Fall and Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest from A24. And there have been now a couple of movies that made their official premieres. Obviously, there is Rustin, Naiad, Saltburn, Poor Things, Maestro, Origin, The Holdovers, and official U.S. release, North American release of The Boy and the Heroine, and a couple of others. In terms of the prizes, now, Telluride does not have a winning film prize, which is kind of odd, because now this is their 50th year and have not done one yet, so that's kind of interesting. But at the Venice International Film Festival, the winning film was Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things. It took the Golden Lion, where only he and I believe costume designer Robbie Ryan, cinematographer Robbie Ryan, I meant, were only there, if I remembered in that press conference. I don't remember correctly, but yeah, Yorgos was there because of course he's not a member of the Writers or Actors Guild. He didn't wrote the film specifically, so that's why with him as a director he was allowed to go there. And I was a little bit hesitant about Poor Things, not because of showing up at Venice or anything, but because of the original September release date that was planned before it got pushed to December because of the strikes. And that pushing back to December, and with its winning at the Golden Lion of Venice, is now more of a stronger move for Poor Things here, because I was not going with Poor Things all last month, if you have seen, but now I have officially joined in the mark of the Poor Things train. I will also say I kind of now joined a little bit of the Anatomy of a Fall train a little bit here, so give that a heads up. So yeah, Poor Things is now more like a stronger contender, and people are waiting to see how it comes up in December. As for the Toronto International Film Festival, a lot of people are expecting Alexander Payne's The Holdovers to take the People's Choice win. But nope. Instead, went to Cord Jefferson's, I believe, debut feature, if I'm correct. His debut feature, American Fiction, which is kind of a comedic, I believe a satire comedic film starring Jeffrey Wright. Yeah, a movie that got a lot of passion takes the People's Choice winner at TIFF. It took the Toronto's People's Choice winner, with The Holdovers coming in second place, and Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heroine taking third. Yes, an animated film actually topped in the top 3 prize. I think that was the first time an animated film managed to get into the top 3 in the People's Choice. So, yeah, more people have seen some of these other films that did not get into the prizes, like, obviously, like, Rustin, Naiad, Maestro, some of the Netflix picks, as I mentioned. A couple of other films had also shown. Next Goal Wins, Taika Waititi's new film, also made its premiere, which it looks like is already out for the season because the reactions, not so good. Probably the wait wasn't worth it. And there are still a couple of film festivals that are still making their ways. The New York Film Festival will actually begin on September 29th, which will be this Friday on the week when I'm releasing the video. But there are a couple of other notable films that will be showing up there for a couple more showings, like some of the other films like All of Us Strangers, Anatomy of Fall, Brown Dry Grasses, Green Border, May December, Todd Haynes' film, and then as well as a couple, Maestro is also going to be there, and also the BFI London Film Festival, which I know Saltburn is going to be the opening premiere, but I know Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget will be making opening film for Saltburn. But Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget will be the premiere film, making its premiere over there. So we'll see how that movie also does in about another month or so. But it's kind of questioning now why we are going to need this, because returning Miss Tweety back. So as for the remaining releases for the month of October, there is one movie that not a lot of people are mentioning right now, is Foe, the new film from Garth Davis, who did Lion, which was the last Weinstein Oscar-nominated movie in the Academy's history. Amazon Studios behind the film. Paul Mescal and Saoirse Ronan are behind the movie. I believe, showing up in New York, so we'll see if that might enter the race for Amazon, because right now the reactions of Saltburn are good, but not great. Not in the levels of Promising Young Woman from what I've been hearing, but then again, I don't think it's out. We'll just have to wait to see more reactions come out. Naiad, which has gotten some not decent, okay reviews, but the praises have been going from Annette Bening and Jodie Foster. But also, that's going to be on the 20th, but also Killers of the Flower Moon, I think, will have its official theatrical run, I'm correct. The collaboration between Paramount and Apple, and speaking of Killers of the Flower Moon, there had been a bit of a news update that they are campaigning Lily Gladstone in leading, which I will be discussing about that once we get into Best Actress. So that is going to be something. David Fincher's The Killer is also going to be released on the 27th, which that has also been not getting some high praises, like okay praises, but not great. And The Holdovers will be also making its premiere, a Christmas-themed movie before Halloween. How can you say about that? So with that said, let's start up with the screenplay category, starting with Best Adapted Screenplay. I have made one change, but the thing is, I want to mention here real quick, Warner Brothers also had announced they are campaigning Barbie in original screenplay. However, I'm not really sure that might happen, because with the pre-existing character rule, I don't know if the Academy is going to put an adapted or not, because the Barbie and Ken have been in so many different forms of the media. It's just like going to be questioning of what sources they're going to be used for the Barbie and Ken characters. It's just going to be a massive question mark, because the toy lines are not going to do it. It is very, very questioning. So because I want to see where the Academy is going to put it, I'm going to still put it here in adapted screenplay. I know many of the comments are going to say, oh, you got to put an original. Well, I'm going to wait till what the Academy says. I'm not waiting till what Warner Brothers says. I'm saying what the Academy is saying. So with that being said, I have Court Jefferson for American Fiction, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach for Barbie. I put an asterisk on that just to show that I still am putting in an adapted, but it could switch over to original if the Academy does confirm it. Eric Roth and Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, and Tony McNamara for Poor Things. With American Fiction and Poor Things winning both the top prizes at their respective festivals, they're both now in here. Oppenheimer is pretty much still good. Barbie, it's now going to be questioning if it's going original. If it is going original or adapted, some people are still thinking it's going to win. So I don't really know if it is, because you got to also remember it's not going to be a movie for every member of the Academy, especially for those sexist members and anti-feminist members of the Academy that might not like this movie. Um, some people would still say it's overrated. Obviously, Barbie is now the highest grossing film of the year so far. Oppenheimer is getting close to the $1 billion mark. So at the moment, because I'm not sure where the Academy is going to put it, I have Killers of the Flower Moon out on front. Not also with Scorsese, not also kind of overdue for a second Oscar. This could be his chance to win here, because the director category, unless we'll have to wait and see what the public's reaction is. But also Eric Roth is kind of overdue for a second Oscar, because Forrest Gump is still his only Oscar, and I feel like this could be the closest thing for him to take the win. The ones I took out were Are You Their God? It's Me, Margaret. And the other one I took out, I believe it was Origin, because the reactions for Origin are not that great, so I took that out. Are You Their God? It's Me, Margaret could be more of a critics' circles favorite, but I don't know about a televised award show favorite, especially now with American Fiction coming into the season. Because with Me on the Shore of Barbie, if I would take Barbie out, obviously the next one I would put in would be Andrew Hay for All of Us Strangers, which that would be in here if the Academy does confirm Barbie an original. But since I have the Academy thinking that they might go adapt it, I have Barbie in its place. So if Barbie would not be here, it would be All of Us Strangers. Another movie I also did consider was Hitman, Richard Linklater's film, that would give him and Glenn Powell a nomination because they both wrote the script. It is kind of a little bit in the out there source, so maybe there might be some awards buzz for the film, specifically for that film, at least in the category. But in terms of this, I think for these I'm confident. With just Barbie, we don't know where the Academy is going to put them. Original screenplay, I only had made one change. Now, the one I chose might be very questioning because not a lot of people are talking about it, but the December release date, and with if these independent productions be more stronger, because with some of the mainstream films being held up or getting pushed back by the strikes, depending on how films would do, and with A24 kind of back in their campaign status, other than Past Lives and The Zone of Interest, this is another film that could potentially make them go in the season. It probably won't be showing up until maybe the AFI Film Festival, but the December release date and the subject matter kind of is very interesting. So I have Justin Triet and Arthur Harari for Anatomy of a Fall, David Hymanson for The Holdovers, Sean Durkin for The Iron Claw, Sammy Birch and Alex Machank for May December, and Celine Song for Past Lives. So yeah, The Iron Claw, it is a very questionable one because we don't know how that movie is going to do. It is a very unique subject matter of I forget what was the story about it, but it is obviously a massive biopic story. Very almost could be in the styles maybe the Rocky films or Creed, or specifically I think $1 Million Baby to be more precise, even though it's a different subject matter. I think it's wrestling, right? Yeah, no, more on wrestling. I think I said boxing. It's wrestling, kind of like The Wrestler. So, it has a notable cast like Zac Efron and Germany Allen White. You might hear that latter one here pretty soon here. It is unique. A24 has a December release date, so it is going to be a massive question mark. It's just that not showing up at any of the festivals here would definitely kind of help its questionable mobility, I would say. I think that's what I was about to say, questionable mobility. I think that was a dumb word I just made up. I don't know if that's a real word or not, but it's just going to be questioning how that movie would do when it comes out. Past Lives, a lot of people are still thinking it might not win this if Barbie's here in original, but at the moment, since I have Barbie in adapted, I think I still am confident Past Lives might win this. So, if the Academy confirmed Barbie, it would be in place over The Iron Claw. May, December, some people have a little bit less momentum, but I'm still kind of confident a little bit. More in terms of what Netflix script that could get in here. In terms of the Netflix features, I think this one would be the more likely one. Anatomy of a Fall, I am a little bit more jumping into the bandwagon a little bit for the film, because Neon did had originally the distributions for Origin. And then that movie didn't go well, and now more people have seen Anatomy of a Fall, and some people are really liking it, loving it so far. I think you're gonna see a little bit more presence in here. The Holdovers, still fine as it is. Although it didn't win TIFF, I feel like it's still confident it's going to be in here. Other candidates, I have taken Saltburn out, and I don't think it's not out of the season yet. We just have to wait and see more reactions from like New York or BFI London before we'll see how the public goes, because it might come back here in place of the Iron Claw. But it's just the early reactions are not strong, like on at the moment, but it could be a little bit better. So we'll just have to wait and see how that Fennell's new movie could do better. So on to supporting actress now, with Lily Gladstone going out of this category. Because a lot of people thought if she was going supporting, like myself, she would probably win this. But now, since she went leading, which we'll talk about, I have to take her out. And I think this 5, I'm pretty confident here. So with that being said, I have Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, Taraji P. Henson in The Color Purple, Julianne Moore in May December, and Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. The 2 I took out, obviously Gladstone, because of course she was confirmed leading, and I also took Rosamund Pike out for Saltburn, which I've heard nothing about her from early reactions from what I've seen. I don't know if I've heard any buzz about her. So I took her out. Taraji P. Henson was the first person I put in here, now having a double nomination for The Color Purple, because to make sense with the original Spielberg film, also having that double nomination for the 2 actresses that played the same role in Spielberg's version, even though it's a musical interpretation of more of the Broadway show instead of Spielberg's film. And on top of that, Taraji P. Henson is definitely overdue for another Oscar nomination. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is still her only one. Hidden Figures was probably the most closest one, but that movie came in late in the season for her to get into the Best Actress category, so she wasn't really talked about. As for Emily Blunt, I was tending not to go with her because I heard she was barely in the movie. And I was planning not to go to her, but this was a last-minute thing because I have to remember myself. They nominated Judd Hirsch last year for his short scene in The Fabelmans. And it doesn't matter how small the role is, like Judi Dench in Belfast, if there is going to be one small supporting performance that will most likely get in this year, it's for Blunt in Oppenheimer. And in fact, Blunt is definitely overdue for an Oscar nomination. I know there were a lot of films she could have had, like The Devil Wears Prada, or The Young Victoria, but or Sicario, or A Quiet Place, or Mary Poppins Returns. 2018 especially for her, with both Quiet Place and Mary Poppins Returns. And she didn't get even for neither, although she was category fraud, I believe, for both films, because even though I've not seen A Quiet Place yet, I pretty much would say she's totally leading from what people have said. And from my experience on Mary Poppins Returns, she is totally supporting in that. So now finally we potentially give her an Oscar nomination would definitely be fine. Divine Joy Randolph is most likely getting in. Julianne Moore, some people might have a little bit less momentum, but with her working with Todd Haynes again, still kind of works well. So Danielle Brooks is back in the front runner stage for me. I do think the role she is doing that got her a Tony nomination, I thought she won this, but if it's going to be a big breakthrough role, it might do it for her. It's just going to be kind of clear of an unknown front runner, unless if Taraji P. Henson or Divine Joy Randolph takes it over, because there's no way Oppenheimer's going to win 3 acting Oscars. But then again, Everything Everywhere did. But like for a small role like Blunt, okay, that's kind of a big argument because you just had Everything Everywhere. I don't think Blunt's a front runner here because it's just going to be very questioning, because it's not really of a career win. It's more of like, we just love the movie so much. It's just massive question mark. So at the moment, I have Danielle Brooks out front. Supporting actor only made one change. The remaining 4 are Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, and John Margot in Past Lives. The new addition is Germany Allen White in The Iron Claw. I had Charles Melton in here for May December, but I kind of now underperformed May December here a little bit, especially with Maestro being more of a stronger candidate, which we'll talk about here when we get to the acting categories, the lead ones specifically. I didn't put Mark Ruffalo in here for Poor Things. It is possible because he has been nominated 3 times in the last decade in this category, so it would not be surprising if he gets another nomination in this category as well. We'll just see how stronger the season goes. So at the moment, I have Germany Allen White. I mean, fresh off from his hit series The Bear, and doing a movie role like this could potentially maybe give him an Oscar nomination in the rise of momentum on his television career as well. Downey is basically, I would still say, the one to win this. If they are going to give Oppenheimer an acting win, it would most likely be him, with Gosling right behind him. Margot, a lot of people might have a little bit less momentum, but I am still confident he's going to get in, especially with the big indie film. And De Niro definitely tried to make it up for not getting him in here for The Irishman, but definitely for a supporting role in Scorsese movie, it's definitely going to be solid for him to get in. But here's the complicated one, Best Actress. I mean, there are so many candidates that could potentially get a nomination here. And obviously, with the category placement, I had to put Gladstone in here. So this is going to be a weird list to say this, but I have now Annette Bening in Nyad, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall, Greta Lee in Past Lives, and Emma Stone in Poor Things. So, so 3 have jumped in here because the ones I took out were Natalie Portman for May December, because I feel like Julianne Moore would now be the most likely of the 3 actors to get in terms of the acting prizes for that movie. I also had Fantasia Barrino in here for The Color Purple, which she's kind of lingering around the corner. It's just because I'll explain why. And then the other one is Carey Mulligan in Maestro. And there are now some people thinking, including myself, although I don't have her in, if Netflix pushes Mulligan in supporting for Maestro, that might give her the win. So if Mulligan goes supporting, she would probably win supporting actress. Some people have her front for actress. Some people think Emma Stone could do it. Some people think Sandra Hüller. Lily Gladstone now with going in the lead, because I've heard a lot of people who saw the trailer think she is in a lot more scenes than what the people thought she was going to be in. And if it is correct, and that is a right example of the right category placement, unlike Michelle Williams last year for The Fabelmans. I jumped on the Sandra Hüller train. I originally was not tending to go with it because she is a little bit unrecognizable for probably a lot of members of the actors branch. But since she also has the zone of interest this year, I feel like they do have to award at least one non-English performance this year, because I think they didn't. Yeah, there were no non-English performances last year, so I think they do need to have at least one. Some people have a little bit less momentum in Greta Lee. I feel like she's fine, because if Past Lives is going to be a stronger candidate, she has to be in here. Emma Stone's been getting high praises, although I heard there was a bit of a controversial section she had, which I think from what Lantimos has said that she has defended that. I can't really say because we can't know what Stone... I can't really say what Stone has said about that scene because she's on the picket line right now striking, so I can't really answer that until when she confirms it, if she actually denies that scene. But at the moment, I still have Annette Bening out on front. It's like that career bullshit Oscar white actress overdue win like Julianne Moore or Renee Zellweger or like a couple others. This is primarily in the category. I know Glenn Close is trying to do this. Benny's trying to do this as well. And although Jodie Foster does have a bit more of awards buzz, I feel like it's more Benning's turn to take the Oscar. So as much as many people want to see Lily Gladstone to become the first native actress to win, I think the Hollywood's just going to give Bening a career win still at the moment, because I've heard praises for her performance, and I feel like it's going to be her award to lose. Actor. So we have 4 confident ones and then a random 5th slot. But I made something that I thought of, and I think it kind of really makes sense. I have Bradley Cooper in Maestro, Coleman Domingo in Rustin, Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. I have taken DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon, and I thought about this in the last video, and I should have done this. At the moment, I have DiCaprio being like what De Niro did for The Irishman, where he missed Best Actor. So yeah, I have DiCaprio missing the Best Actor race. I think he's going to miss the entire season for the Best Actor category. for Killers of the Flower Moon, like De Niro did for The Irishman. Because if I'm correct, okay, maybe not. Okay, I'm not really sure because, okay, I thought for a second, I thought DiCaprio was a producer in this movie. I thought he was, like De Niro did in the last movie, but apparently he's not. So that might be maybe a bad move in my position, but that's just because of the strong reactions to American Fiction and that Jeffrey Wright has not been nominated before, and this could be the first time for his career to do so. Coleman Domingo has a strong year at the moment with not just his high praise performance in Rustin, but also he has The Color Purple, and I also heard a lot of things about Sing Sing, which premiered at TIFF, which I believe is coming out next year, so that will be probably for next year. So that's most likely for next year's award season. But at the moment, I still have Bradley Cooper out front. It's like the makeup transformation thing. We've seen this for the past 2 years. With Jessica Chastain and Brendan Fraser, I think Cooper can still do it. So I have DiCaprio just missing as De Niro did for The Irishman. But since DiCaprio is not a producer on Killers, I might be mistaking that. But it's just kind of tough. It's just like now 6 of these are battling it out. So there is also the possibility if Domingo could be Rustin's only nomination of the season if they're not going to do the song that's in the movie. Maybe costumes, that might help. But if Domingo's the only nomination throughout the entirety of the season, he might miss. Because the thing is, there's always that one performance nomination that is the only nomination for the movie that gets in throughout the entire season but misses the Oscars. Like Ruth Negga in Passing, or Eddie Redmayne in The Good Nurse, and it's Netflix, so Domingo could be the one. If he's getting praised for The Color Purple, then he might try to do the double nomination thing, but he might get in one instead of the other, or he just might miss completely. So if Domingo's the only nomination Rustin's been getting throughout the entirety of the season, he might miss. But then again, some people think he might be out front. But at the moment, I have Cooper out front just because of the makeup transformation trend that we've been seeing in these acting wins in recent years. For director, I have made one change. I have Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Celine Song for Past Lives, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. So I have taken Greta Gerwig out right now for Barbie. I kind of stated in the last video that I said if Dune Part 2 got pushed back, Gerwig's in for director. But with Poor Things now coming in after winning Venice, I feel like Poor Things is now like a top 5 candidate with Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Past Lives, and I would say Barbie. If the holdovers did one at TIFF, I would have put Alexander Payne in here over Lanthimos or even Glazer, because last year obviously we didn't have no non-English films getting in for director. Like Edward Berger didn't get in for All Quiet. So I still am going with Glazer. I know I should be going with Justin Triet as well for Anatomy of a Fall. I mean, there is a possibility she would get in over Celine Song, because there could be a possibility Past Lives might lose a little bit of momentum when it comes to the season if she does not get in for director and we see like Gerwig or Triad in the season. That could be a possibility, and she can only get in for the screenplay category if Barbie is going to perform a little bit better than Past Lives. But at the moment, I think the top 5 are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and Poor Things, with the holdovers kind of remaining in 6. But it's just like, there's always that one random director nomination, and Glazer would be my pick as how heavy the subject matter of The Zone of Interest is. But there are some notable filmmakers that could potentially, for non-English films, that could potentially get in. One person I jumped into was Wim Wenders for Perfect Days, which has been confirmed as Japan's submission for the international feature category. He's been a long-time filmmaker. If you are a Criterion collector, you know some of his films are in the collection. I mean, like Until the End of the World, Paris, Texas, Pina, his documentary, The Salt of the Earth, although it's not in the collection, was also nominated. So Wings of Desire is another one. It's just like he has been a notable filmmaker throughout most of the 80s through now, and he could be the one that might be recognized. That is if Perfect Days could be more of a stronger candidate, like if it wins people like the best picture at like the New York or Los Angeles film critic circles like Drive My Car did. And with Evil Does Not Exist not being Japan's submission, it looks like that won't be in contention for this season, I think, because I think I might be here and might be coming out to the US next year. So that would be questioned, because there is that rule that if a non-English film is not submitted by the country in its initial year and gets a US release the following year, it can be eligible for the other categories, like Itama Batavian did and technically Spirited Away. Speaking of Spirited Away, Hayao Miyazaki is kind of in the talks here for this. If there could be a potential to get the first animated film in for director. Agnieszka Holland, well-known female filmmaker who has Green Border, which could be Poland's submission. As of this recording, Poland has not submitted. And even France and the UK have not submitted Anatomy of a Fall or The Zone of Interest yet, but they might be officially submitted by when we get to the end of October. So there is a lot of notable filmmakers like that could do it. So like Wenders or Holland or Miyazaki could be the well-known international director that gets in over the highly acclaimed one like Anatomy of a Fall or The Zone of Interest. So those three you could be on the lookout for. So Gerwig is definitely on the corner. I don't think Alexander Payne's getting in here. I know that the past three TIFF winners at People's Choice, they all got in for director, but I don't think American Fiction is going to be highly at the moment, because it's going to be massively questioned, because it is a rarity that the People's Choice winner does not get in the Oscars. Like in recent years, the People's Choice winner does not get Oscar nominated. Like American Fiction is guaranteed to get nominated, but like getting a Best Picture or Director nomination is massively question marked. So because the Jojo Rabbit did get in for director, and Where Do We Go Now was the last film to receive no Oscar nominations or didn't get in for Best Picture. So maybe American Fiction could be the first film to win People's Choice without getting a Best Picture nomination in the Oscars. And speaking of which, for Best Picture, I have Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Color Purple, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So I have taken out Saltburn. I think I also took out... what was the other film I had in here other than Saltburn? Because that was the first... May-December. I took Saltburn and May-December out, and in comes Anatomy of a Fall, which I have joined on the train, that one, and Poor Things. So yeah, I have two non-English films getting in for Best Picture, which could be the first time ever if both of those films are really going to be in here for the Best Picture conversation. Barbie is still fine. Oppenheimer's fine. Holdovers. I have stated top five would be Barbie, Killers, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things. With the Holdovers cutting in 6. And then you have Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest. Maestro, I still have it in here. I think this could be Netflix's top candidate. And then The Color Purple is the 10th spot at the moment, because I think the two acting nominations and a couple of techs like sound, costumes, production design might do it for it to help it get it in, especially with Spielberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Quincy Jones producing that film. And Spielberg, Scorsese, and Todd Phillips are producing Maestro. So, like, yeah, Spielberg could get 2 nominations for Best Picture. Same thing with Scorsese. And then you have Todd Phillips, Oprah Winfrey, and Quincy Jones in the category. So, yeah, there is also American Fiction, which, of course, at the moment, don't have it in here at the moment, because other than actor and screenplay, I don't know where else to put it. Then again, like, we've seen, like, just one film to get in, 2 nominations to get in for picture, like Licorice Pizza and Triangle of Sadness, but that would be more like original screenplay and director. The Iron Claw could do it, but that could be more in other categories, like film editing or something like that, or cinematography. So I'm not going into the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse train. I think it's going to die its momentum once more of these movies are seen by the public. I think that's going to be out by the time we get to, like, November and December, out of the Best Picture conversations, unless if it resurrects by many critics' circles. But we'll have to wait and see. So I feel like I am pretty confident with these 10. I don't know if nothing's going to change throughout the month of October. I think we're going to be fine here. Unless Saltburn gets better reviews, that might come in over The Color Purple, but I think that is basically it. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and we'll have to wait and see how New York, London, and how the public's reaction to Killers of the Flower Moon does throughout the month of October. But then again, a lot of people will go see a lot of horror films.